Hey guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia, and I am coming to you as always from Germany. Today is Sunday, it's the 19th of May 2019, and I am so glad that you're joining me today to talk about some knitting. If you're watching for the very first time, hello, welcome. I hope that you will enjoy it here. And if you are coming back, of course, welcome back. I'm so glad that you're spending some time with me, listening to me ramble about yarn and spinning and knitting. And yeah, I really hope all of you enjoy the show. Today I will talk about some finished objects, some works in progress, some spinning, some birthday acquisitions, and possibly a life in general update. We will just see how that goes. A quick warning in advance. The fact is that I am both suffering from a little bit of hay fever and just generally not feeling super well. I haven't been sleeping very well. I'm very tired, although I'm on my second cup of coffee for today and it's only 12:30. But yeah, I'm just maybe a little bit less energetic than usual, and there is just nothing I can do about it, so I hope you guys don't mind. So before we get started, very quickly, a few things in advance. We have a group on Ravelry called the Happy Knitting Podcast Group. I should know this by now. It's not like I haven't done this 170 something times. So you can find that on Ravelry and join in the chatter there. I also don't do any show notes, but you can always find my project pages on Ravelry. Again, I will link them below. And usually you will find everything in regards to what I'm wearing, what my projects are, my needle sizes and such on there. Also a very, very big thank you to all of you guys who sent me lovely birthday messages. That was really, really, really sweet. Thank you so much. I really appreciated that, as well as the people who just generally sent me some nice messages last week. That really meant a lot. And on the other hand, just a very, very quick warning. I had prepared this whole rant and discussion about things, and I'm not going to do that today because, again, frankly, I am too tired. But to those of you who don't like my hair, don't like the way I talk, the way I film, the way the music is played, the way I show things, all these sort of things, and I could make a very, very long list of things that keep popping up every week continually, so through different messages, comments, and such. I have one very, very easy solution for you guys, and that is to not watch this podcast if you don't enjoy it, because obviously we should be doing things that we enjoy, and if we don't, what's the point? So just putting that out there, I am not asking for any sort of constructive criticism because frankly I haven't asked for it, and therefore if you don't like this podcast, that is 100% fine with me. You may have noticed that I never ask you guys to like and subscribe if you like this podcast, because I feel like you guys are smart enough to make that choice yourself. And you don't need me telling you to subscribe to something. If you want to, you will be doing it anyways. The same thing goes for the other way around. If you don't want to watch it, I don't need your comments. You don't really need to press the thumbs down, but you can do that if that makes you happy. Just be sensible. That's all I'm going to say. All right, let's talk about some knitting after some coffee first. What am I wearing today? I am wearing the Mai sweater, M-A-I sweater, which is a pattern by Leni Hoy, who is a Finnish designer. Again, you will find the details in my project pages, but this is just a very easy sort of sweatshirt-like pullover. It's actually a faded pullover. I'm not sure if you can tell. And yeah, I wear that quite a lot these days, and it's a really nice, fun sort of summery spring garment. I really like this detail on the sleeve. I get quite a lot of compliments on this actually, so I'm very, very happy with this. All right, I have one finished object, and it's one that Kai is waiting for me to show on the podcast so he can finally wear these. So these are, of course, my husband Kai's socks. I showed these to you last week when they were still in progress. The yarn that I use for these is by Austermann. And Austermann, you may know from their commercial sock yarns, but they also have a hand-dyed range, and this is colorway number 15. This is the second time I've been knitting with Austermann hand painted. I think that's what it's called. I'm sorry, I don't know what the label is. It's a really workhorse, sturdy yarn. So I don't necessarily love knitting with it, but I've knit a pair of socks out of this yarn for Kai before, and they last really, really well. It's a really nice, sturdy wool and nylon blend. And yeah, I really think it's so fun how the color distribution obviously wasn't quite even in the skein. So this one is a lot more green than this one. But I do like them, and most importantly, Kai loves them, so that's the main thing. To make life a little bit easier for me, I went up to a 2.5mm needle for these. That's a US size 1.5. And I therefore could still knit on a 64 stitch count. And yeah, it made some really nice socks. And because the yarn is already so sturdy, I'm not really worried about knitting them on a slightly looser gauge. Besides that, vanilla socks top down. I did a garter stitch fish lips kiss heel, which I do all the time, and again you can do that with any short row heel. Just knit the purl rows and you will have a garter stitch heel. Yeah, so that is my finished object for this week, and these will go into Kai's sock drawer immediately. They worked up really, really fast, which tends to happen with Kai's socks because he just keeps bugging me about them until I finish them. So yeah, that is my finished object for this week. In terms of works in progress, where should we start? Let's start in the opposite of chronological order, I suppose. Let's start with what I cast on last night because I just felt like it. So I actually didn't have any socks on the needles for about 3 days after I finished Kai's socks, and then I had this skein of handspun that I showed to you a couple of weeks ago when I finished it, and I never put it away because I really just wanted to cast it on, and I'm trying to knit more with my handspun. So yesterday I decided to cake it up. This is a skein of a chain plied yarn that I spun right before my wedding, so about 2 months ago. It was a braid of merino and nylon by Das Mondschaf, who is Sabrina. And I spun it into quite thin singles and then chain plied them to have a 3-ply sock yarn. And only now that I'm knitting with it, I'm realizing that this may be my favorite yarn that I've spun for socks so far. The reason for that is, and I'm sorry, I'm going to get very technical because I seem to be doing that lately with my spinning. I feel like I'm getting much more technical these days, but I will try to keep it short. What I did with this is I really overplied it, and that just made for a higher twist yarn, obviously. And I don't know if I can show you, but the yarn is just so beautiful. Like, it's so round, and you can see that it's got a lot of twist in it, but it's just knitting up really, really well. And I don't always enjoy knitting socks out of my handspun because they tend to be very sturdy socks, and these are too. But I don't know, these just feel very, very nice and still yet very stable. So this is the sock that I'm knitting. I have about 350 meters of this yarn, so I decided to go up to a 2.5mm needle once again, and I'm doing 60 stitches, and this is where we are. Let me show that to you properly. I love how the colors are working up. It was a very sort of random braid in terms of the color placement, and I just spun it up that way too. I split it into very small pieces when spinning, which is why you get these very short color runs, almost like stripes. And yeah, I think they're definitely going to be fraternal socks. Like, you never really know what's going to happen next with this skein of yarn, but it's very, very fun. I really like them, and the fabric that I'm getting now is really great. I'm really enjoying that. So that is my hand spun sock, and I'm very excited about these. What else am I knitting on? These are about ready for the heel. I'm not going to make them super long because I'm worried about running out of yarn. I don't think I will, but you never know, and who wants that to happen? Also, my voice is going again. I don't think I'm having a cold. I think it's just hay fever, but it's really annoying no matter what it is. next up, I have 3 sweaters on the needles because I'm the crazy sweater lady apparently. I used to be the crazy sock lady and now I'm the crazy sweater person. Anyhow, this is my Arata sweater. I remembered, you guys. I remembered. After last week's disaster. This is a sweater pattern by Jennifer Steingass. And last week, I have no idea where I was with this. Oh yeah, I was working on the sleeves while still kind of having the body on the needles as well, because I'm playing an epic game of Yarn Chicken once again. What should we talk about first? Let's talk about the yarn first. The yarn is a Norwegian yarn that I picked up in Oslo last year. It's from Pickles, it's their pure wool, and I so want to go back to Oslo and get more of this yarn because it's amazing. Like I said, a Rata sweater is a top-down yoke. It's really, really beautiful. I love the color work design. This design is actually knit with more than 2 colors, but there's a 2-color version which I just fell in love with, so that's obviously what I am doing. And as you can see, there's still needles in the bottom of the sweater because I am going to lengthen it just a little bit. But I have also finished the first sleeve and I'm halfway down the second sleeve. So I could have finished this if I had not then gotten sidetracked and cast on all these handspun things, but I'm making very good progress on this. I decided to go for a 3/4 length sleeve because I decided I would rather lengthen it a little bit as well, and like I said, there's a limited amount of yarn, so you have to make a compromise. Someone actually gave me a really good idea last week after watching the podcast about doing like 2 colored sleeves, but that advice came too late. And I still wasn't really sure if I was going to do that. So yeah, but this is where I am with this, and I think it's going to be a really nice sweater, especially because it's almost too big on the top because I had a bit of a swatching mishap. So it's quite roomy at the top, and therefore I think if I make it a little bit more cropped and a bit shorter sleeves, maybe similar to this, it might actually be quite flattering in the end. Very happy with this, very out of my usual color comfort zone, but my color comfort zone seems to be all over the place lately anyways, so there is that. Also, I need to start using bigger bags because I keep on stuffing things into these tiny bags. And what's the point? Like, oh well. Next up, I'm so proud. I'm actually like finishing things because I'm so all over the place and I can't focus on anything. And then sometimes I just actually do what I'm supposed to do and I finish stuff. So I have finally picked up my Pavement Sweater again. And you guys must be so sick of this garment because I have been talking about this for 2 months. But this is a sweater that I am knitting out of the Love yarn by Wool Addicts, which is I think a yarn series by Lang Yarns. And this is a 92% merino, 8% nylon yarn, and it's in this chainette construction, which I think was really quite interesting. It also comes in these tiny balls. These are 25-gram balls, and you guys, when I wove in the ends of these little balls yesterday, there were so many ends, so that's definitely a downside, but it is a really cute yarn. Anyhow, I am knitting the Pavement Sweater, which is of course a pattern by Vera Välimäki, and this is my 4th one that I am knitting. So it's a top-down sweater with a really nice construction, and you guys, look, it's crinkly because I haven't blocked it, but I have finished the body finally. So I think I had about like maybe 4 inches of body to go, and then I did a split hem. This is not in the pattern because I don't follow patterns. So I did a split hem, and you can see the back is much longer than the front, which I think is going to be really nice to wear. And I was so proud of myself and really excited to show this on the podcast because I'm actually making progress for once. And then I even cast on the sleeve. So again, these sleeves are probably not going to be super long. I think Vera does them sort of elbow length. Not sure if I want the elbow length, but I'm probably going to, again, make them something like this because I really like it. maybe I should steal the idea from this sweater and actually do a finish like that. But maybe not. I haven't decided, but I am finally, I feel like the end is in sight with this sweater, and I'm going to be wearing this a ton. But this is definitely a bit of a product knit for me. Also, I'm not sure if I like the yarn. Like, it's super soft, and I love the color, and I love it in the skein, but it's just a very unusual fabric. I think I like it. I think it's going to be great to wear, but I don't know. It's just very different to the sort of rustic yarns that I tend to knit with usually. I think that is the main point. Like, it's just a matter of preference, and yeah. Anyways, really happy with this. Finally making progress. Pavement Sweater by Vera Valimaki. And I didn't say, but I'm knitting both this sweater and the previous one and the next one that I'm going to show you on 3.5mm US size 4 needles, because they are my favorite needles. So that is that. Again, living in a too small project bag, even though this one is a little bit better. And then I cast on another project. I actually cast this on a couple of days ago, and then I just kind of forgot about it again. And I think I'm really going to start actively working on this once I have finished some of the other sweaters, because I'm so close to finishing them. I also really desperately need to finish my night shift shawl, because oh my gosh, I hope you guys are as sick of it as I am, because I'm just so over that project. So really, if I just sat down, I could finish both those sweaters I just showed you and that shawl, and I would have so many whips off my needles. But instead, I just keep on casting on new things. Like, anyways, in my upside down flamingo bag, which I love, and they're not upside down on the other side. I got this bag actually from Jules, who used to have the Diary of a Yarn Snob podcast. Anyways, in here is a new cast on, and this one has me so excited because I'm using some very, very special yarn. This, you guys, is the yarn that I picked up in Paris when we went to La Bien-Aimée. And oh my gosh, do I love it. Like, just look at these colors. Like, this has to be the most beautiful yarn I've ever seen. This is La Bien-Aimée. I'm going to show you her logo. And this is in their sports yarn. So it's a merino sport base. 325 meters per 100 grams. And it's in the Andromeda. I have no idea how to pronounce it. Colorway. Come on, camera. You can do it. There we go. And I only have 3 skeins. So once again, yarn chicken. Why do I do this to myself? I don't know. I know why, because I'm trying to save money, but it's stupid. And I cast on another top-down sweater. And what I seem to be doing these days is I keep on knitting the same sweaters all over again and again and again, because I mean, a lot of times with this really pretty yarn, you don't need a lot of patterning, and I love a good basic sweater that you can just wear and it's easy. So in this instance, I cast on another no frills sweater. And you may remember the no frills sweater is actually supposed to be knit with a strand of mohair, and it was the latest craze and everyone was doing it. And I've knit one before, but wasn't ready to splurge and buy like expensive mohair yarn. So the previous one that I did, I knit out of a fuzzy yarn that had all sorts of fibers in there from La Droguerie, which is also a French yarn, by the way. But I just really like the shape of the sweater with some minor adjustments. So I just decided to cast one on without the mohair and just use the sport weight yarn instead, because the gauge worked out pretty well. So this is another no frills sweater by Petite Knits, I'm not quite sure. And as you can see, I haven't done very much. I've cast on, I have done all the short rows, and after the short rows now I'm just increasing for the raglan increases. And I'm also alternating skeins, which is making it a little bit more cumbersome, but it will be worth it. I'm using, of course, the helical knitting technique. And yeah, that is where we are with that. So I think the yarn is coming out really pretty. I think it's going to be a really pretty sweater. I love the colors. I only have 3 skeins of yarn, so we may be playing yarn chicken, but I don't care. I'm doing a few less stitches on the arms because the no-frill sweater has very, very big arms or shoulders. And at some point, I'm probably going to stop increasing for the arms and only increase for the body, which is what I've done for the first one. I'm also taking out a lot of the positive ease because there's a ton of ease on the sweater. And I like a positive ease, but I don't need like 4 to 6 to 8 inches of positive ease in my sweaters generally. Like I feel like a lot of sweaters these days, it's just in fashion to make everything super oversized, and I get the idea, and I do like an oversized sweater, but I don't want to knit like a tent. So yeah, that's what I'm planning on doing, but I'm not very far into it. I've only picked this up once, I think, after casting it on, because like I said, I want to get some other stuff finished. So that is it in terms of my works in progress. Yeah. Next up, just very quickly, I will talk about some spinning and then I'll show you some acquisitions. So I mentioned last week that I am planning to do another big spinning project for another sweater from a 1 kilo carded fleece bat thing of a German fiber, and the fiber that I'm talking about is Coburger Fuchs. So it's a German sheep breed, I assume. And last week I didn't really know if I was ready to jump into such a big spin, and I had been sampling and I didn't really know what I was going for. And in the end, I just decided to just jump on it and start spinning and practice my long draw, because this is perfect practice. So again, I'm sorry, I'm going to be technical for a second, but only for a second, I promise. I'm spinning this yarn woolen spun, which means I'm spinning it long draw from a woolen prep. That again means that the fiber, it's basically this big fleece, and the fibers are not aligned, so they're going in every direction, and I'm spinning it in a way that keeps them going in every direction. Whereas if I was spinning worsted, I would be flattening and lining up those fibers. And what that does is it creates a very lofty, woolly, and light yarn. You can maybe see it's got a bit of a halo to it. Like examples of woolen spun yarns would be Jamieson & Smith Jumper Weight, Brooklyn Tweed Loft, I think, is a woolen spun yarn. A lot of the more what you would call rustic yarns. And this is a relatively new spinning technique for me. So I'm very, very happy to be using this project both for a sweater and also just to improve my spinning. And it turns out that's exactly what this is turning out to be. I'm just trying to find my default style of woolen spinning. And like you can see, I finished my first 2 skeins. Admittedly, I think this one is 60 grams, 80 grams, and this one is 60 grams, so they're not super heavy skeins. But I have 2 skeins finished, so I spun the singles, woolen, and then did a 2-ply. And they're coming out to be a nice DK weight yarn, so I'm very, very happy with this. The only thing that really needs to be happening now is I need to stay consistent. But I think I found a very good sort of default style of spinning this fiber now. So I think like as long as I try to keep that style going and don't change the technique, I think I should be fine. And also I'm thinking I have 1 kilo of this yarn. So if I end up with skeins that don't match for a big project, I can just keep on spinning. Like, I'm not planning to spin 1 kilo of this yarn, but if worst comes to worst, I could. So I'm just using this both as practice, and I think it will be a nice sweater yarn eventually. So I've got, I think, about 340 meters in both of these skeins. So I'm about a third done with my spinning for this sweater, and I'm very, very excited about it. I'm really enjoying the fiber. You have probably noticed that I'm experimenting a lot with different fibers these days. I'm really enjoying spinning a German fiber. And I'm not sure if you can tell, I really like this color. It's got these very, very fine brown hairs, like longer guard hairs, I suppose, in here. And it's just making for a very interesting yarn. I wish it was a little bit more on the gray side than it is. It's a little bit more too beigey for me, but I may dye this. Or maybe it'll be perfect this way already. I don't know yet. But I do like the fact that it's not a super bleached white. Like, this is proper natural colored yarn, and I think it's very beautiful. And of course, I'm spinning all of that on my e-spinner Eddie, who is an e-spinner 3 by Ashford, and I'm still loving spinning on it, even though Eddie ate my hair the other day. Oh my gosh, you guys. Side note, if you have very long hair and your e-spinner is running, which turns out to be a very dangerous tool anyways, if you lean over it, it's going to eat all of your hair, and it was not fun, and I was not very happy with Eddie that night. But I have enough hair. Eddie survived. I survived. It'll be fine. Yeah, so that is my spinning, and I will move on to some acquisitions. You may know that I'm on a yarn diet, and guess who failed that massively? I got myself some birthday yarn, but I'm actually, now that I'm teasing you all about it, I'm not going to show that to you today. Today I'm going to only show you a couple of skeins that I got from lovely, lovely knitting friends for my birthday, and I will spread out the other thing next week, most likely. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to be recording next week. The next time I talk to you, whenever that will be. So I got 2 sets of yarny birthday gifts. The first one was from my lovely friend Grace, who sent me an amazing package, and I'm only showing you part of it. She knit me a beautiful brioche shawl. She sent me some minis, and then she sent me 2 full skeins of yarn, because that girl is crazy. So the first one that she gave me is a skein of Knit Picks Troll Fingering in their Renaissance hand-painted range, with a lovely coffee stain, which it wasn't there when I got it. I don't know what happened there. I mean, who drinks coffee when handling yarn? So this is a fingering weight yarn, and it's in all these fun colors, and I think this has to be a pair of socks for Kai, or maybe for his dad. Like, these are just really, really fun colors. They're almost Christmassy, and yeah, I can't wait to see how this knits up. I'm assuming it'll be very, very crazy, so maybe more for Kai than for Kai's dad. But it's a very soft yarn as well, and yeah, I'm very excited. I think I've never knit with Knit Picks Troll before. I've knit with their Felici yarn, and I'm thinking it's the same base, but I don't know. And then, because Grace is crazy, she also gave me this beautiful skein of yarn. Oh my gosh. And this one I'm keeping to myself. There's no way I'm gifting these socks to anyone. This is by Whip Yarns, who I haven't tried before, in their Galaxy collection, and the colorway is Nebula. And the base is called Glimmer and Glamour, which is a merino, nylon, and stellina base. And you guys, this is so sparkly, but again, it's also very, very, very soft. I sometimes don't like sparkly bases when they have the lyrics in it, and that tends to be sort of like harsh and scratchy, but this is so soft. I don't know what they did with this yarn, but it's beautiful, and I mean, the colors, I love it. So thank you, Grace. And then my friend Marion was equally crazy. And first of all, she gave me this beautiful bag, and some of you may have a guess now what's in this bag. This is by John Urban Textiles, who has a mill and amazing yarn in the UK. And John Urban, we're coming for you, by the way. Anyways, and you guys, look. I got 4 50-gram skeins of their newest sock yarn, which is an Exmoor sock 4-ply. So this is a label which, can we talk about that label? That is just beautiful. This gray, which is a beautiful sort of tonal natural gray, is called Mizzle, whereas the burgundy is called Bell Heather. And this yarn is really interesting. It is 60% Exmoor Blue Face, which, by the way, is the sheep that's on here. and 20% Corriedale, 10% Swapples, and 10% nylon. So it says, embracing the characteristics of our local Exmoor sheep as a durable, machine-washable yarn in an array of North Devon-inspired shades. And this is a yarn that I've been wanting to try so badly, and I'm so excited about this. And just to give you a quick sort of first impression of this yarn, I really like it. It definitely feels very, very woolly. And you can see there's a lot of tonality in the yarn, which I think is because we looked this up, and it turns out that at least the Swampole sheep tends to be very dark, if not black. So I'm assuming it has to do with that. I don't necessarily find this yarn to be scratchy, but it's definitely not like your soft merino kind of yarn. So I would probably knit a garment with it, but I could see that some people would not want it for a garment. Having said that, I think it's a beautiful yarn, and I really kind of want to do some color work with these two colors. I just feel like that would be so fun, and oh, I love it. I love it. So again, Marion, thank you so much, and I always love getting yarn for my birthday. Like, a birthday without yarn is just so sad. And I may have panic ordered yarn on my birthday too because I was low on yarn. Turns out I needn't have worried, but who knows? So that is the yarn that I'm showing you for today, and that is it in terms of my proper yarny content of the show. In terms of life in general, not gonna say a whole lot. It's been tough. It's been annoying. Life gets that way sometimes. But yesterday it was really funny actually. We both, Kai and I, we have been thinking about going to IKEA. Originally because we needed some stuff for our balcony, and I said maybe we do need to do something about my stash, because I've been talking about getting a second sort of shelf for my stash for a while, and then I never did it because I didn't want to create more space for my yarn, because then I would just have an excuse to buy more yarn. But we looked at it, and I really had to admit that I have a bit of a yarn hoarding problem, because what I have apparently been doing is I've just been stuffing yarn everywhere. It's kind of embarrassing because I don't tend to be a hoarder, and I tend to be quite an organized person. So I don't know, this is also my office, and I think it's a symptom of me being stressed and work not going too great and all these things, that I suddenly just ended up having boxes of yarn and then piles of things underneath, and the stash has kind of encroached on all of our apartment by now. So I decided we need to do something about that. So yesterday we drove to IKEA, and I got some more shelving for my office. We also cleaned out a lot of stuff, because it turns out I collect some really random stuff that then just sits there collecting dust and taking up room and space that we don't have. And all that to say that I'm not sure if you can tell, my yarn shelf there has been moved slightly. I hung up my shade carriers, which makes me so happy, and that is an idea 100% stolen from Ellie of Skandir. And here I have a bigger shelving unit now that can actually hold all my yarn. So I am so excited about this, because without going into too much detail, because I will probably do that on another episode, because I'm worried about carpet, beetles, and moss and all these things, I am very, very paranoid about my yarn, and I keep it all up in boxes and in plastic, and I'm very, very cautious. And because of that, I had just started accumulating these big sort of storage bins from IKEA, and just stacking them on top of each other, which hasn't been the most pretty solution. It was safe, but not very pretty, and also not very easy to organize. So now I haven't really figured out my system yet, but I have all these different options of how to store my yarn, and that just makes me very, very happy. And I think this room is going to be a work in progress for a while, but I like the possibility now. I like the fact that I don't just need to stuff here in very small corners because I don't have space for it anymore, and that makes me very, very happy. All right, I think that is it in terms of what I've been doing, what I've been making. I've got a very busy weekend coming up next weekend. So I have no idea. I've got a very big, busy couple of weeks coming up, if you're being honest. But somehow, I will find some way to record a podcast sooner or later. So don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. Until then, if you do want to stay in touch and see what I get up to with my knitting, usually the best place to follow me is on Instagram, where you can find me as the Happy Knitting Podcast, because I tend to be sharing things over there if I'm sharing anywhere. Um, what else is there to talk about? I think that's it for today. I hope this episode wasn't too discombobulated. I feel a little bit all over the place. So it may well have been, but such is life. So I'm embracing it. And I think a podcast is still better than no podcast at all. So it's Sunday afternoon by now, and I'm just going to go join Kai, do some knitting, hang out, enjoy the really, really nice weather that we've been having. It's sunny, it's summery. I should be going running. Let's see if that happens. But, anyways, I hope that you also have a great Sunday, have a great week. I hope you're enjoying your knitting, and I will see you very, very soon. Thank you for watching. Happy knitting. Bye.